Viewers beware, you're in for a scare, and you might have guessed it from that intro. But today I want to talk about Goosebumps, a specific book that I found recently, but we'll get back to that. Now, I assume everybody knows about Goosebumps, either from reading them, watching them, or cultural osmosis. And I've got to say, holy moly do I feel old realizing that Goosebumps is over 30 years old. Wow. Just wow. Yeah, and if you grew up reading Goosebumps, I'm so sorry for the back pain you're experiencing. For the handful who are unaware, Goosebumps is a series of horror books for teens and preteens. And if you're a kid in the 90s, I'm guessing you know all about the books, because Goosebumps took the world by storm. It was everywhere. And it is one of the highest selling series of all time, beat only by Harry Potter and Chicken Soup for the Soul. I've never heard of Chicken Soup for the Soul. I mean, I've heard of it, but I don't know what they are. So I'm guessing I'm one of the few handful of people who are unaware. My bad. But yeah, if you didn't realize how successful Goosebumps was, since 1992, over 400 million copies have been sold. That is insane, right? 400 million! I live in Finland, that's got a population of what, 5.5-ish million people? That's like every single person, including babies, buying 72 books each. That is quite frankly insane, right? So in case you forgot or just didn't know, Goosebumps, like most children's literature, focuses on teens or preteens protagonists. And in the case of Goosebumps, it's, it usually follows like some supernatural thing that's schlocky, a bit campy, like ghosts, monsters, living dummies. And the stories follow a monster week formula. So you could just grab any book and read them, which definitely helps if you're a poor kid who could only get random books out of order. I'm not bitter. And I think it definitely helps that the series were short, fast-paced, and full of humor, and really good twists, I have to say. I mean, as an adult reading Goosebumps, like you see the twists coming like a mile away, but for like a 10-year-old, mind blown at some of these twists. Seriously, yeah, it's really good stuff. It also probably helped that the covers were really bright and shiny to catch your attention. And oh man, some of the artwork for the covers is freaking incredible. Tim Jacobus, I think, he really captured the 90s horror vibes perfectly, like spot on. Some of the covers, like Say Cheese or Die, or the freaking was the horror at Camp Jelly Jam? That cover stayed with me for years. Just chef's kiss good, and I mean, there's other covers that stick to mind, like Don't Go to Sleep. I think it's the one with the hand sticking out. Such a good cover. Yeah, just so many good covers. Like, there's so many good covers. I could do a video just ranking the cover art alone. Yeah, just good stuff. Good stuff. So I remember back in primary school, Goosebumps became one of the popular things that everyone got obsessed with, just like Tamagotchis. Well, that was until one of the cooler kids said that they'd switched from the childish Goosebumps to the more mature point horror books. That is a whole other rabbit hole to go down. But it does make me laugh because the only point horror book I can think of off the top of my head is Beach House, which was also written by R.L. Stine. So yeah, the writer of Goosebumps is R.L. Stine. I could read the blurb about him, but it's easy just to go check it out on the Wikipedia. But what I did find interesting is it says he began writing at the age of 9 after finding a typewriter in the attic. I just love that in my head there's like an alternative timeline where we don't get Goosebumps as this young R.L. Stine just walks past a typewriter and just doesn't notice it. So yeah, anyway, he's had a pretty good career as a writer, as a novelist, even like working on like other stuff like TV and stuff. It was pretty crazy, pretty good career. Shows you that you can actually do something with a English degree if you're really lucky. Not that I'm bitter. But yeah, so in 1986 he wrote Blind Date, and then he had a follow-up of lots of other series and books. Like in 1989 he wrote Fear Street, which has also sold well. It's sold like 80 million copies. Think of like a precursor to Goosebumps with a slightly older protagonist and slightly older themes. Dealing with more grounded things like murder mystery things and some paranormal events. Personally though, I've only read like the first couple when I was like 11, so I don't really remember much about Fear Street, to be honest. So I don't know if you've read them or if you can remember, let me know in the comments. Drop a comment. I'm curious what you think. How do they compare to Goosebumps? So like every other popular franchise, Goosebumps has spawned so many spin-offs and offshoots, and I've got to say many of them I'm completely unaware of. So to start off with, you got the mainline books, and there's a boatload of spin-offs like Give Yourself Goosebumps. Subtle foreshadowing. So there's a 90s Goosebumps TV show, which a lot of people fondly remember. For me, I never really got into this series. If I remember correctly, it was on in UK on BBC TV, and it was in that kind of time slot from when you just got home from school. And it's got to be around like 1997, 1998. And it was a year or two after I got into the Goosebumps obsession. So the TV show never really struck like a chord with me. It never really landed. Not like the books did. I've got to say, I remember the odd episode like Stay Out of the Basement, because it's like a creepy concept. But yeah, I just didn't remember any episodes. I do remember the jungle, that bum, 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 good jungle. Looking at other media, there was also a comic book series I had no idea even existed until I looked into this. So this came out in 2006 and it's got several adaptations and it's continued until 2019. So I think I wasn't exactly the target demographic for that, unless the comic book was targeting 20-year-olds at the time. I actually have no idea what the comic book tone is. If you're a fan and you've read them, let me know. I've had a quick glance. I've seen a couple of panels. They look pretty good. Yeah, let me know what they're like. Yeah, and on top of the product tie-ins, there's games like Escape from Horrorland. The one with Jeff Goldblum. I have no idea how he got that role, but it's pretty fun. You should watch that. Maybe don't stop this video, but like after this video, go look up Horrorland and go watch the scene with Jeff Goldblum. It is pretty epic. Yeah, you want to see that. There's been a few other games made over the years. There's like mainly spooky homage kind of games, like the 2015 point-and-click adventure game, which is creatively named Goosebumps the Game. 10 out of 10 creativity on that one. Which I might have to play because I picked it up on Steam for about 80p yesterday. So good stuff. Let me know if you want to see that. And then there's the movies. So there's two movies, I think. I could be wrong, but there's the one with Jack Black. I like the one with Jack Black. It's a pretty enjoyable watch. I'd say it's a solid 6 out of 10. Definitely aimed towards children. So it's a bit more goofy, but it's definitely enjoyable and definitely worth a watch. Then there's a second film, which I've not seen, and all I can say is it doesn't have Jack Black in, or the same actors, or even the same director. So I would assume it's one of those bad like sequels that are like kind of direct to DVD. But the IMDb review has it as 5.6 out of 10 compared to the original film of 6.3. So it doesn't seem as that much worse. Maybe I'll check it out. Then there's the newish TV series. I say new, because I've just looked and the second season is out in January-ish, so it must have been pretty successful, to be honest. So the first season I watched most of it. I think it's a decent show. I think it took itself a bit too seriously. Probably would have been a better received show if it wasn't titled Goosebumps. It probably wouldn't have done as well, but I think if it wasn't tied to the name, it probably would have been fine. I enjoyed it. It was a bit too teen drama for me, so I probably won't be back for more. But I do have to say, Justin Long is amazing in it, and you should all watch it just for Justin Long. He is like scene stealing in every scene he's in. Seriously, I'd recommend a watch just for that alone. So just looking at it, Goosebumps is a juggernaut that's just kept on chugging. I mean, if you're a fan, you're probably aware of all of this, but for many of us like me, I've just watched some episodes and read a few books here and there. And then the anniversary came by, and then I watched the TV show, and you get to wondering what's going on with Goosebumps. So, here we are. Okay. Story time. Grab a drink, grab a cup of tea, grab a coffee, come settle in, take a seat. Most people are fond of Goosebumps because they have a sense of nostalgia, and the fact that the series is pretty good for a kid when you're reading them. Which is also true for me. But, the film Inside Out where they did the whole core memories thing? Well, yeah, that. I have deeply rooted core memory with Goosebumps. Okay. So, long ago, back in the 90s, when I was just a little wee lad, my dad, he used to work as a leather craftsman. My dad, he rented out this workshop, which is in the middle of fucking nowhere, which actually might not have been in the middle of nowhere, but it was a longish drive to my kid brain, so it's in the middle of nowhere. So, it was basically a few workshop spaces surrounded by woodlands. I'm pretty sure it was like a horse barn that was converted or something. But anyway, so I'd been there a few times in the daytime exploring the woods, as a young kid would. And I found some hunting shells that were empty. And as a kid, I thought this was cool. I picked them up and I played with them for a while, ran around the forest. And, I went back to say hi to my dad, where he said he had to finish a piece and he was going to be a bit longer and he had to carry on working. So he asks if I wanted to sit and wait with him, and I'm like, fuck no, because it's boring as heck sat there with your dad. So I was like, I'll sit in the car where it's warm and I'll read my new book. You can probably see where this is going. Anyway, it was winter, so it was cold and it got dark really fast. So I sat alone in the car with a light on, and I started thinking about the shells, and I started thinking that I could have been shot, I started thinking about my mortality. I could have died, which is not a great train of thought for a 10-year-old. So to distract myself, I started reading a horror book, Goosebumps. And this is one of the most terrifying memories I have as a kid. Sitting alone in a darkish car, hyping my fear up, just hyping it up more and more so it escalated, wondering about all the unseen things lurking in the dark just out of reach. And I was too scared to get out and go to my dad, but too scared to sit alone. Yeah, my dad came back probably only after like half an hour or an hour or so. It wasn't that long. But to a scared kid with ADHD, it felt like an eternity. And it's just such a funny memory to me as an adult because it's so dumb. I could have done things so differently. Like, I could have just opened the window of the car and shouted to my dad. He was literally like 10, 20 feet away. It's so dumb. But, kid logic isn't the best. But I think that awakened my love of horror because even though it hyped up my fear, the book was this perfect distraction at the time from other fear. And yeah, it just basically brought me joy, and I've consumed so many horror books. But it does make me wonder, would I be a different person today if I was reading some other book at the time, like, I don't know, Animorphs or something, I'm a cat now. To slowly meander to the point, I've always been obsessed with choose your own adventure books. Like, there was one I rented from my primary school that was this Indiana Jones escape, it was this escapade that I loved so much that I stole it, I guess, because I found it in the attic a few years ago and it had been well read. It basically falling apart. That, or I forgot to return it with ADHD, which is probably more likely, but I still found a copy of a book from like 1996 that I stole from my primary school. I'm very sorry. You're not getting it back. Yeah, you name it. If it's a choose your own adventure thing, I'm sold. I love choose your own adventures, except for Life is Strange. I couldn't get on board with that game because it let you undo your choices, which made me doubt everything. And if you give me too many choices, I get analysis paralysis and I just get stuck. So no, bad game. And I know you can always just go back to a point in a book and turn to a new page, but for some reason, turning a page has this more definitive feel to it. And I know it's dumb, but for some reason this helps my brain lock in a choice. Yeah, so this kind of leads me in a roundabout way to give yourself goosebumps, which is the kind of like rambling focus of this video, I guess, other than just checking in with goosebumps. So, reader beware, you choose the scare. So, I was so freaking obsessed with these books. I had one as a kid I read so much that it fell apart, which I found the other day. It is literally missing the front cover. There are chapters fallen out. The book is like stained. It is not well kept. It's a book that probably should have been binned like 20 years ago. I think it was TikTok You're Dead. I'm not entirely sure because like I said, the cover was missing. So I'd have to read through. But if it wasn't, that's the one I remember the most. So it was either that book or that's the best in the Choose Your Own series. And having a quick wiki tells me that R.L. Stine is credited for many of these, but some of these could have been written by by ghostwriters. And I'll word it as a possibility as there are some doubts on this, and I don't want to cast shade. But holy shit, there are 50 books in the Give Yourself Goosebumps series. What the fuck? I need to get these. Oh my god. I'm cut to 3 days later with me having all the books now. Yeah, if you've never read these books, they have multiple endings and they usually follow more than one storyline. And they've got like 2 mainish paths you can follow, and there's usually like a side kind of quest or a side story. And sometimes a path would lead you to death or to a dead end. The book would occasionally warn you to go back and take another path. It's so good. I don't know what it is, but being told to turn to a specific page number rather than turning to the next page just feels so good. Bad boys for life. So yeah, these books were just really fun to read. Something about making the choices yourself just raised them to a whole new level for me. And I've been thinking about reading some of these series again for like literally years. And then the other day I came across an old copy of, it's either Escape from Carnival Horrors or it's TikTok You're Dead. I'm not entirely sure. Like the cover is missing. There are huge chunks missing. I mean, I could find out, but like, it's so delicate. I don't want to touch the book. It's like you need gloves to touch it, and you know, it's like faded from the sun. It's like pages are peeling and falling out. It has just been battered. It's not been treated well. Finding that book has got me thinking, do you want to play a game? So I had an idea. It actually came to me in a dream. Not even joking. So I was thinking, why read these to myself when I could live stream it? And we could play together, you know, like engage with the community. And I thought it'd be nice to share something I loved as a kid. And I thought, could play it online and we could use polls to decide what choices to make. So I guess this whole rambling video has led to this. Do you want to play Give Yourself Goosebumps as a group? Let me know if you're interested, as I think this would be a really fun thing to do. And if not, well, I'll probably still do it anyway, even if it's a 0 views stream, which is sad. Thanks for watching. I'm glad you've got it this far in this rambling video. And yeah, let me know if you want to play Goosebumps. And with that, I hope to see you again sometime soon. Hopefully, making bad choices as a group. Take care.